Good afternoon, Piper Builder here. As you can see, we've got our firewall just kind of roughly sketched out there with the spare engine mount sitting on it just to make sure I don't have anything obviously wrong, and I don't think I do. It all looks pretty good. But the radiuses aren't very precise. I need to cut this very precise, and the only way to do that, unfortunately for me, is to kind of pull off a task of the firewall, and I've got to build some doors. I just can't guess that. I learned this trick from a guy. I think he started out in HVAC sheet metal and ended up doing all kind of cool stuff, old Rolls Royces and Allards and things like that were missing fenders. And he had a bunch of rope in the shop on the floor one day, and I said, "What's up with all the rope?" And he was just kind of showing me. So in his case, he had like a headlight bucket that was missing, and he would just kind of go around there just so he doesn't have a bunch of waste. And I just kind of copied what he did there. So you can see if you look down, the rope more or less follows that radius. And then I'll just mark it there with a Sharpie, and then I'll come over here and mark it there with a Sharpie, and then add me another ½ inch. That way I'm not wasting 4 and 5 inches of metal, just kind of getting it close. So I am going to follow that method, and we're going to cut us out some barn door access panel doors, whatever we want to call them, for the cowl. And I'll bend them up, we'll break them up, we'll get the radius, we'll fold them over, we'll hem them, we'll do all that good stuff. And then we'll put them on there. I'll put the Zeus fasteners in there, and at that point I'll have the real shape, which I can accurately trace to my firewall that we will bead roll and put strength in it, cut out, put the outer flange and all that good stuff on there. So stay tuned. Here we go. Okay, let's start building these doors for the cowling, these access doors. So what we've got 19 inches. That's the front vertical piece, so that'd be the front of the door that runs up and down. This would be the rear of the door that goes up and down. And of course the door is 24 inches from prop to plane long. Now you might see a couple numbers in here, and what I do, on something like this, I like to hem the outside edges, and that means nothing more than just coming in here. We'll put them in the break, we'll come over and do just like this, and we'll take it over to the bead roller, and I've got these hemming dies, and it'll smash that thing down like you would run your thumbnail across this on a table to flatten it out. We'll do that on the bead roller. You don't want to smash. If you smash them too much, you'll actually split the aluminum depending on which way the grain of the aluminum or the steel is going. Aluminum is worse than steel about that, but they still can split. I'm not trying to smash them down that hard. I'm just trying to kind of lay it over like that so it will provide some rigidity and it won't have a blunt, sharp edge every time you open up the door. So you just got to be careful. You can actually overhem them. And so that's what that quarter inch of hem. So if we did a 1/4 inch all the way around the border, you're going to lose a quarter. So we need to bring that number from 20 inches to 20.5. Same thing for the other one, 23.5, quarter. That gets us 24, and then so on and so forth. So I think that's going to work out pretty good for us. And I've got it laid out. I absolutely hate doing what I'm about to do, but I don't have any choice because I don't have a shop hand here. And so what we're going to do is this is 14 feet long, okay? I can't handle that. I can't put that in the shear. I'm not capable of that. So what we're going to do is I've got the nibblers of doom, and these are Harbor Freight. They've outlasted my $300 ones that I bought. So I mean, it's not a tool I use very often, but when you do need the nibbler of doom, it works. So here's how it works. You got to be careful. There's no guard on here. You could get your finger in there. It's nothing more than a power shear, right? You can see I'm running it real slow. So it's like that right there. People hate these. They say it tears up the aluminum. It tears it up real bad. It's because they push it and they shove it. Just like a saw blade. Let the saw work. Let the shear work, okay? So we'll go ahead and get it started. Like so. Let me open the jaws up. It's kind of hard to hold this and video this and keep it in frame, but here's how they work. They make a cool little cute curly cue too. Okay, just like that. That makes a pretty darn nice cut there if you ask me. If you see it that you're getting a little dent about every 1/4 inch or ½ inch, it's because you've got it cocked, you're pulling up on it, or you're just trying to force it. So we're going to do that. The reason I'm bringing this up is I'm going to cut this off that line. That line is absolutely not my finish line. I'm going to do the finish line up in the shear where I can get it nice and straight. I'm just cutting this off with the least amount of waste possible so I can handle it, so stay tuned. Okay, let's give it a shot here. I put my knee pad down there so I don't dent the aluminum, and I don't like wiggling around on floors very often, so. All right, we've got our line here. I'm going to leave the line. That leaves me another little bit, and let's give it a try. Remember, just let that blade cut. You don't want to run it wide open. I'm probably running it 25 squared. Watch your manifold pressure here. Okay, and stop and breathe. Make sure my cord's not going to get hung up. I've been shocked more times, I swear, cutting sheet metal because it gets hung up there and somehow cuts into the cord. All right, here we go. Let's let it cut. Look at that. This is 30 thousandths or 28 thousandths, and it's cutting it like butter. Okay, we got good oil pressure, airspeed's alive. Boom, look at there. And there's those curlicues I was telling you about. Those are kind of, you can make wind chimes or trash with it, whatever you want to do with it. All right, now I've cut my piece to the point where I can handle it. Now we'll take this guy and I'll put this in the shear and clean up that edge. All right, we've got our marks. I'm going to get my paper back over here. Just a quadruple double check to make sure, because this stuff is expensive. I don't want to have to buy any more of it. It's expensive to ship it in. It's everything all the way around. All right, there's my pool noodles I was telling you about, because it will scratch this pretty aluminum. I always leave the cover on it too. Some guys like to pull it off so they can see better. I don't know. I like to keep it on there. I tend to see the Sharpie mark better on this. And I could also scribe right through that and I could see it. All right, here we go. So 19 inches to the front. We have yet to cut that one. Oh, another tip that you can use is if this gets complicated to you, I've got it in my head, but what you can do is do like an A dimension, a B dimension, and a C dimension. And then once you cut it, label that. Because when you're working with something that's this close, like a 24, 24, 19, it's easy to stick it in there the wrong way. And then now you've sheared a perfectly good part and you come up 2 or 3 inches short. But if you can get it in your head, roll on. All right, so it looks like the first cut needs to be 24.5. Some sticklers would say you need to bend it with the grain, not with the grain. There is nothing that's a sharp radius on this that I can see it making one difference or the other. If there was several 90-degree bends in this thing, or even some 70s or something like that, over time, you know, if it vibrates, maybe it could work harden or whatever. I'm not going to split hairs there. So what I'm going to do is cut it where the mill is going to be vertical. I just think that's going to be easier for me to get more out of this sheet of than to turn it and then lose some the way I'm hemming it. So you can nitpick this all the way into oblivion. But anyway, that's what we're doing. So let's check it. We need to make sure we have drop dead bare minimum of 24.5. And we've got 24 7/8. So that's good. That's what it should be. There's my tick mark lines right there. Also, note to self, make sure you don't pick these up. You will shear one of these off at some point. You'll shear the corner of it off because your work will sneak in there, and the next thing you know, you've sheared the bottom of it. I've seen it done. I've been lucky I haven't done that. Most of my mistakes were because I was working late or there was an adult beverage involved. I rode a bull one time. Notice I said one time, kind of like the guy that crashed the gyrocopter one time. You don't usually crash those things too many more times. Let's see how I can get in here to see this guy. Oh man, we're not even close. I'm losing my touch here. All right, we're dead on that mark. That's gonna put me at 24 and a half. 24 and a half. Subtract a 1/4 inch for that hem, puts me at 24 and a quarter. Subtract the other one, puts me at 24. And, ooh, that looks good right there. Let's see if we stayed there. Again, with something this wide, one person, it can get a little time consuming. So here we go. I'll show you this action, how this works. The stomp shear, I've got it in place. Watch this, and action. So we shaved off that 1/4 inch long piece. Let's check our work. See where we wound up. I hope it's 24 and a half. Heck yeah, 24 and a half and 12 thousandths. Right on it. Golly, that's nice. I like that. All right, so let's call that our C line. Because that's a 24 long. Remember, I said I wanted the grain going north and south, just kind of splitting hairs, but not. So let's call that our C, and I'm gonna put an arrow and then draw it on there and visualize it. That way you can't screw it up. All right, now the next item up for bid is, now that we have the door, this is basically how it would open, right? Like so. Obviously, that's way too big. So now we need to come back. Matter of fact, it's 24 also. Convenient of that cowl manufacturer to do such a thing. So now we need to come down this way, 24 and 1/2. Remember, 1/4 and a 1/4 for those hems, because you're going to lose a 1/4 on each side with your hems. All right, so now we are ready to cut dimension B, right? So we did C, which we said was going to kind of be our fore and aft. If you could do this in your head, that's totally cool. But we're basically going to cut this out, and so now B is going to be our vertical. And that's 24 and a half. And again, we lose a 1/4 on each end with our hems. And when I cut this, it's going to give me half a sheet left. So I don't want to just stomp it and destroy, or at least beat down a corner. So I'm going to carefully, very carefully, reach over before it falls and grab. It's not scrap, it's just, it actually works out mathematically. It's our other piece. I'm going to split that little scribe line right in half. Okay, now I'm getting silly here. It's not going to outer space, it's just going in the air. All right, here we go. There we go. Man, this shear is so sharp, it does not even leave a burr. It doesn't even leave a rolled edge. All right, we'll set that one aside there. That's going to be the right side. We're going to keep working on the left. So let's check our work. Boy, I hope that came out to be 24 and a half. We're on the money. Yes, sir. Man, I love that when that goes on. So now if you want, you could write top or hinge. Do it how you want. I take notes on my stuff because acetone and a rag will take it right back off. Because now we're going to throw a stick at the spokes. So now our A is going to be 19 and a half, right? Because we're going to hem a 1/4 on that and smash that down. So this is where it gets complicated, because this door is not exactly square. It's not exactly a rectangle. So I'm going to take a break here. I'm going to lay it all out and we'll shear it. So there's one tool that I sold and I shouldn't have because I wasn't using it that much, and it turns out I use it more than I realized, and that is a roller. And what it is you basically have 3 rollers, and you can adjust the height, and it's just going to force the metal to curve and go through the roller, and you just keep cranking that preload down more and more, and it will make that, it will roll the aluminum very uniform. Mine was a 36 inch. At the time, I rolled a lot of 40 inch stuff and 44 inch stuff. and I really need a 4-footer. So I'm still actively looking for a 4-foot roller. They're out there. They're just expensive, and I'm a little bit cheap for what little I use them. But here would be a great time to use one of those rollers. You don't have to roll. You don't have to commit. You can just roll the first part. It's called a slip roll. You can slip it in there. You can roll it and just put that radius in that corner. However, I have seen it done a lot, and I've done a few of them like this where I needed a radius on a race car, you know, fender or something like that. And I've got an oxygen tank over here, or nitrogen, whatever, for, you know, my welding stuff. And so I'm going to put it in there, and you could just carefully bend it up, basically making that tank into a mandrel. So we're going to give this a try and then just see how pathetic this works. But first, before we just start rolling on it, we need to make sure that we mark exactly, precisely where that bend needs to happen. And it's pretty much going to happen from right here. I can just kind of guess where it's going to come around, right to right there. Fortunately, we're working with some soft and pretty malleable and very thin aluminum. I believe we'll be able to coax it to go where we want it to go, and we'll put it up there. So I just can't do all this on the camera, so I'm going to make a few attempts at this, and we'll come back and see where it landed us. All right, so I know I'm going to get some criticism for this, and I do not care. I know that it's a superior hinge. The mil-spec hinges are great. They're light, they're neat, they're mil-spec, all that good stuff. And this hinge is not any cheaper, so I don't buy it for that reason. It's an All-Star Racing product. I like it because it's got a durable finish on it, and it's staked, so the pin's not going to slide out of it. It just holds up better. I don't know what it is about it. It's just a better hinge. I think the mil-spec hinges are delicate and fragile, and something as big as this barn door, if that thing come undone, I just have more confidence in this, and it didn't weigh anymore. So I mean, to me, it's a win-win all the way around. So we're going to measure this hinge. I'm going to put it up there. We're going to cut it. We're going to Cleco it in there. We're going to get our rivet spacing, and we're going to use this. This is a cool tool. I like these little rivet spacers. So instead of having to get a tape measure and then do your math and then find the center and all that, you literally do this one-handed. You just spread it out there. Now, there are little scribed increment lines on here, but I still measure them out. So it's not an arbitrary number, 1 inch, 2 inch, 2 1/4, something like that. And you just come down like so, and you put that guy in there, and then you just take your little Sharpie or a pen or whatever, and you put through there. You can even drill it and put a Cleco. I've done that before when I didn't have a third hand to help me there. So anyway, this rivet spacer, so we'll get that in there. We'll mark them. And we'll get this hinge in there, and then we'll mark the door. And then now we know where it goes, and then we'll do our final cut. I'm not doing that cut till I know that the door fits perfect. All right, we got a cowl door done. Man, it came out phenomenality. I love it. I couldn't be happier with how that came out, considering that's my first cowl door I ever made. It looks like the hinge sticks up, but I went and looked at a Super Decathlon, or a Citabria today, and that joker just sticks up. So it's exactly like that.